Hey, Mike Reps here. And today I wanted to show off a little project that I've been working on for the past 48 hours. I've been participating in the GameDevHQ intensive training program for the last 8 weeks. And this project was kind of a take-home test, like a programming challenge for kind of the end of the course. So what I was challenged with doing was taking this car, this Unity scene that I had imported, and taking a car or any object really, but the initial ask is to take this car and enable each part of the car to be selected, which will move the camera view to the part close up and label the part. Labels should only show for the selected part. A part can be selected by either clicking on the part or clicking on the UI button on the left side of the screen that corresponds to that part. Each part of the car should be listed on the left side of the screen with its own button, and the part should highlight when hovered over to show they are clickable. So we'll get right into that. I'll show off kind of the basics of what I have. So we'll go ahead and play this. As I move around the car, you can see the parts highlight. We have buttons up on the left side here. If I click on the wheel, it pops up with the label, the mudguard, the suspension. We could go ahead and say, let's go over to the right suspension, and there we go. The right wheel. We could go to the back wheel here. We could do the brake lights here and take a look at the brake lights. We can also turn the labels off completely. And so I can just click around without any kind of UI or labels and just kind of take a look at, take a look at the nice little car here. And I can also rotate the camera around by using the mouse wheel. And you can see a little bit of reflection there. This is the Unity built-in pipeline. And I'm using Connect. They just had their assets on sale on the Unity Asset Store a couple weeks ago, and this asset is named something like SSR Reflections or something. Shiny SSR. Shiny SSRR. Shiny SSRR. So it does like screen space reflections, but in the built-in pipeline, so you don't have to do like HDRP. So real easy asset to work with. I pretty much just plugged it in, slapped it on the camera, and modified a couple of values, and got pretty good reflections. It works pretty well. So that's like the basic functionality there. And now I'm gonna get to the fun stuff. Was this second part here. Of the instructions. It says this should be set up to be reusable. It should be written as if you will need to use this application to do the same thing for 20 different cars with different parts. Less work required for every other car, the better. And somewhere I read, or maybe when I was given the assignment, he said maybe you could use different objects, but I wanted to make it really modular. Let's put it that way. So I wasn't even focused on it being cars. I was more focused on objects that you can import and that you would be able to do this click around functionality. It would display the buttons and things like that. And objects or cars in Unity, they're, just 3D models, right? So it would basically take the 3D model in, kind of take all the parts, put a camera on each part, and list them out as buttons that are interactable. So what I did was I created an editor tool here. So if I go up here, I have a drop down here, Dev Test Object Creator, and that brings up this window here. So this top part is kind of irrelevant now. It's what I was using at first. And basically you could enter like the name of the car. So say the car that I already have in there is called Sky Car. So I could type like Sky Car in here and then say set up new object, and it would set up that object. In fact, if I hit it now, it would reset the object. You can see. Actually, let's delete this real quick. We'll bring in that Sky Car again and take a look at it. We'll just put it right in the main root of the scene. We have our sky car. It is just a 3D model. Nothing really special about it. It isn't a prefab. So the sky car root object is just the 3D model, and then there's the different parts of the 3D model, right? You can see them highlighting here as I'm going down. That's all it is. All that's on there is mesh renderers, and that's pretty much it. So what I can do is then hit Setup New Object. It takes it from the root of the scene or wherever you put it in the scene. It compares the name to the sky car, which isn't a great way to do it, but that's I'll get to that in a second. I have a better way of doing it now, which involves this bottom button here. But what it does is it puts this objects script on the root game object. It puts a part script and a mesh collider onto each object that is a child of that objects. Each part, I guess, is what it does. It puts a part script and a mesh collider on each part. And the part script handles controlling the camera and the on-click events and the hovering over. And the mesh collider is there because in order to be able to click it, you need a collider on the object. And then it also instantiates a Cinemachine camera as a child of each part that then focuses on that part of the car. So you can see here, this one has sky car body here. And then like this virtual camera would be, it's really just pointing at its parent object there. So it does all this setup just in the click of a button. And I could do this again, and it just reset that car. When you do it again, it checks if these scripts are on there. It deletes them. It deletes the virtual cameras. It deletes all the stuff that has been added and redoes it. So every time I click that, it's totally redoing the whole setup process. So this text-based way, this checking, and the other thing I could do here is like, when I click here, I could select a game object from the project view. And so I could put Skycar in here, and basically all that's doing is taking the name of this object and comparing it to a scene object. I couldn't figure out a way to actually get it to actually just select the scene object that well. So I mean, this was kind of the hacky way I did it at first. But it works. And so basically if you have a text in here, it's going to override whatever's in here. It's going to use the text. But if this text isn't there and then you selected the Skycar object from the project view, it would basically compare the strings and then set up the object just the same way as this does. This was one of the first things I worked on, was the object creator, right? And so once I had the object creator up and running, it was only with this first part, with the setup object and everything, and the string compare. Just a few hours ago, I decided, you know what? There's no reason I can't do like all these cars at once. Like, why not? You just have to put a loop in there. And like sometimes like those kind of ideas, in your mind, it's like, oh, that would be really tough to do. But it really wasn't, at least in this case. I wrote it such that it was very easy to just literally loop through the same stuff that I'm doing when I do this. But I had to figure out a way, since I'm not going to be doing a string compare, to grab the objects through this custom editor window. So what I did was I created a game object in the scene that's called bulk creator object. And what I can do, I'm going to delete this Skycar out. And what I can do is just throw a bunch of cars right under that bulk creator object. So we're putting our car back in there. Hasn't been processed yet. And if I wanted to, I could just hit that and boom, it does it right away. You can have as many or as few objects that get processed at one time. So that one's processed now. That one's set up. We'll throw this blue car in here. I think this one's pointed the wrong way, so we'll just turn that around real quick. We will throw in this other car. And I'll just take a second to get these lined up a little bit better in the scene. And this one we'll make a little smaller because it's a little bit big. And then we'll take real car 11 and throw that in here. We'll move that up a little bit. We will take this van in here. And this van has van 01 in all of its child objects. So what I could do here is change the name to van 01. And then when it processes this, when it does the name of the part, it's going to pull out van 01, and it's also going to pull out the LOD stuff, so that you're only going to have like a more streamlined. I think it's going to pull out the LOD stuff. I don't know if I did that or not. We'll see. But you're gonna have a better looking name though, especially without van 01 on the front of everything. So, and then let's also throw in this heavy motorhome, which is like a Walking Dead, like kind of crazy zombie motorhome. We'll drop this down a little bit in size, just a little. And that's pretty good. And then I'll also take this mech that I have. I'll put him in here. He's really big. So now I could just, again, hit this button. And boom, it processed all of them. It set them all up with their own parts. And they're all ready to go in the scene. So I literally don't have to do anything. This object, any children of this are going to be handled as objects. And so when I go into the game, I'm going to be able to hit next or previous just based on what's under this display objects game object here. So we'll close out of the object creator. Since our objects are already created, we'll just hit play, literally not doing anything else. And we have our same functionality of the car that I was showing earlier. And then if I hit next object, we got another car in here. It's got its own kind of parts. You know, they're you know, named just how they were as the model. All I did was pull the model in, and that's it. And it's kind of ready to go. Some of the cameras are a little bit off. One of the things you could do, like theoretically, if somebody was to use this project, you could, after the objects are created, you can go in and just modify the cinema machine cameras to get the exact angle that you want. You know, zoom them in, or, you know, put them at a different angle. Basically what I was trying to do was just get it kind of in the ballpark when the object's created. You know, you want the camera to be sort of in the right spot, but for certain you know, objects that you might pull in, certain 3D models, obviously it's not going to be perfect. And especially in 48 hours, like the fact that it's as good as it was shocking to myself. But let's go to the next object. We have this other car here, this real car. Again, all its own parts here. And again, we could turn this stuff off and just kind of jump around here. We go back like this. Whoops. And we get the back view of the car. Hit the label on again. The glass. This glass. And again, the cameras are a little bit shaky, a little bit like not perfect, but kind of in the right ballpark. So if you were to use like this kind of object creator, you have all your virtual cameras that you then can go in and modify once it's already created. And then let's go to the next car. Very similar to the last one. A little bit cooler looking though. And again, all its own points. The points come up here. We can also click this stuff. So like back left, and then I'll go back to this wheel. Back right. Kind of hit the back thing here, the boot. I think there's like even dashboard stuff here. That doesn't get angled very good, but again, you could always change the angle after the object was created. And then we'll go to the next car. It's a van. This is kind of the default that it has. Now, one of the things with the van, if I was to go here and if I looked at the back here of the car, if I click there, it actually takes me back here, which tells me that that piece of the model actually has an origin point of like 000. It's like in the middle of the van. Basically what I was going off of the cameras, the way I had them kind of guess a position is like if it's ahead of 000, I think like positive Z or something, then it kind of has this like forward angle on it. And then if it's behind, it kind of has a backwards angle. But if it's 000 itself, it goes to this. So it does depend on the 3D model, like how well this is going to work. But as you can see, like I just, quickly process these couple of 3D models, and it's working pretty well in general. So, and then we'll go to the next one, and there's this, it's this Walking Dead kind of motorhome. So the camera's all a little bit jacked up on this one. But there you go. You can get the like the reflection going there. That's cool. But anyway, for this one, I can actually go kind of around and like click on like the inside stuff. The camera doesn't work very well for the inside stuff. Like if we have that, I think because I made it smaller too, it actually didn't leave enough room for the cameras to work as well as they do when it's a full 1:1 scale. But anyway, it works pretty well, and like all the objects come up here, and you can click all this stuff as well. We got a spare wheel somewhere. There we go. We got barbed wire in the back, and all this stuff. Blue barrel. We got books in there somewhere. I guess there's a little bookshelf there, and maybe back here as well. All the different parts you can click on, and the camera goes generally in the right area. But like I said, this project definitely wasn't designed to work with stuff that has like an interior like this. But the fact that it kind of worked at all was pretty cool to me. We got the fuel cans, wheel cover. And then if we hit next, we have this mech. So let me scroll back up here, because one of the things, this scroll bar I didn't really completely finish with. So it's not clamped, and it doesn't it doesn't reset, but 48 hours of work, it's whatever. So the cool thing about this mech is that it was a skin mesh renderer rather than a regular mesh renderer like all the other cars. So one of the things that creator does is it takes the skin mesh renderer and converts it to a regular mesh renderer with a mesh filter, so that I can then use a mesh collider, and all this functionality like works just like the other normal cars do. The camera's not perfect. That's because it's a mech and it's not a car, and the cameras were designed for the cars. Again, though, like one thing I could do would be to like come in and just change these cameras. But just the fact that I could just click one button and it's all set up to be clickable and with the cameras themselves without having to do all that manually is pretty freaking sweet. And then next object goes back to the original car, and we're back to kind of normal. So that's kind of my project, my final project for the GameDevHQ intensive program. It's been a really awesome course. 8 weeks, learned a ton. I've been using a lot more event systems. or event driven systems, I should say. A lot more, I say, but I really wasn't using events at all before this course started, and now I'm pretty efficient with them. Obviously, I've also learned a little bit about custom editor tools, because this is something like this car creator thing is not something I would have been able to do before this course started. There's been times over the last year of learning Unity that I've had maybe 30 different characters or something, or 50 different characters, I think, for one of my projects. And I went through and I updated each one manually. Like the one Halloween project I did, I had like 50 different characters, I think, or just about, that I had to add ragdolls to. I had to add different hats. I added all this different stuff to each one. And if I just set up like kind of a tool like this that processes all of them, that adds components and things like that, it really does make life a whole lot easier, especially if you have to go back and redo stuff. So like if I had to redo these, I could redo them in 2 minutes, if that. So really cool stuff that you could do with custom editors, and pretty proud of how this came out for like 48 hours. Not going to dive too far into the code. Some of it's none of it's really messy, but the editor stuff is a little bit messy. But I use things like prefab utility. So one of the things, I had to unpack the prefabs before I actually processed them. Because I was deleting different components off of them. I did a lot of try get components to see if they have certain components on them, and then destroy those components. So that way, if I'm rerunning the creator, it just handles it. It doesn't say it doesn't put on like two of the same component onto one object. It will delete out the existing component first, and then re-add the component that needs to be there. And then here's like the skinned mesh renderer converter, basically. It's a bunch of add components for mesh filter, mesh renderer, and then you're taking the mesh filter and renderer and updating the mesh on the mesh filter to the temp mesh, and then updating the materials to whatever materials are on the skin mesh renderer, and then I delete the skin mesh renderer. Really simple. It's crazy. You if you don't know much about programming and stuff, and maybe you use like some kind of converter program or something, it always sounds like pretty intimidating. At least to me it did, like when I didn't know as much what I was doing. It's like, oh, a converter, like that must be doing all kinds of crazy stuff, but it's really not. I mean, some are for sure, but like the idea of this was a lot scarier to me than what it ended up actually being. And I find that to be true of a lot of things with Unity, is that sometimes I think, oh, well, I could do this, but that might be a little bit difficult. But then when I sit down and actually do it, it just ends up being 11 lines of code right here that converts these skin mesh renderers to the regular mesh renderers that I need them to be for the rest of the program to work like it normally does. So pretty cool thing there. And then this is a bunch of the same stuff, but this is the bulk one. I didn't put I could definitely consolidate a bunch of this code and put it into like one function. And in fact, I could actually just get rid of this setup new object, because this one that compares strings, there's like really no point to having it anymore, because I now have this bulk converter down here. But whatever, a little bit of messy code never hurt anybody. What else might be cool to look at? The objects. The objects have some editor functions in here, which are to basically set the list of parts on the object on the object game object, which you can actually see right there. The different lists of parts. And then set the name of the parts, and we take out like the LOD, we take out the underscore, you know, we take out the name of the root model if it's contained in the name. So nothing too crazy there. The parts script also has some editor stuff. And this is messy, and I was hoping to find a better way to do this, but like I said, I did all this in 48 hours, so it was kind of get it working and get it working well enough, and it definitely works well enough. Definitely a lot of like magic numbers in here, but we're basically saying like if the position of the object is like less than 0 for X and greater than -1, then we're going to have the X offset be 0.4. Basically, it was just if it's the front of the car or if it's the side of the car, then do this. You know, if it's the front of the car, do this. If it's the front side, do this. If it's the back side, do this. And this was just an easy way to do it, kind of. It's kind of a hacky way. There might be a better way. I don't know. But this worked fairly well for like a quick and dirty editor. And like I said, it works. Even if it's not a car or anything, it'll put the cameras in there and it'll get them pointed at least kind of in the right direction. And then, like I said, if you were to use like a tool like this in real life, you would be able to go in there and modify each camera as needed to get them focused exactly on each part of the model as you would need. And then a couple are basically hard coded because for that original car, I wanted to get that original car looking real good. So we have the headlight, the brake light, the mud flaps. They have like their own kind of preset basically. And maybe that's what I would do if I was going to extend this further. Maybe I would make like different presets for different types of objects or something like that. But like I said, 48 hours. So, came out pretty good, for that. And on Enable, you can see a few events going on here. And then we have in the parts, we have, our mouse enter and mouse exit and mouse down functionality. Basically mouse down pretty much just fires off an event and sets the Cinemachine priority to 100. I think by default they're like 10. So this event calls all the other Cinemachine cameras that are active and says as long as you're not this Cinemachine camera that is set right here or the one that's a child of this game object, then we're going to set all their priorities to 10. So just reset all the other cameras. Which, now that I think about it, maybe I could just have it, reset the specific camera that it needs to. But, this works. So, and then object itself doesn't have much as far as actual functionality. And then a lot of the other functionality was just UI manager and getting the buttons to work. And turning on and off different things, with the labels and such. So that's my final project for GameDevHQ intensive program. I think it came out pretty good. So any questions, leave them in the comments, and talk to you later.